Dirty Sports Podcast. I said, welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning out in the West Side.
Thank you, sir. How's everything in Greater Cincinnati?
It's good, man. It's good.
What's your shirt say? Dad jokes are how I roll. So classic.
It's been sitting in my drawer. I think I got it for Father's Day last year. So I was like, I'm gonna bust out the dad shirt. Dad life. I'm sure they make those. I got my Tupac Thug Life. I want a dad life one.
We should make you a custom one with Isla with the bandana on backwards. Doing West Side fingers.
Dude, she bounces she like really gets into beats. Like I know, like legit. Like she bounces when music plays. I think she's gonna be a little music savvy. I don't know. She likes the music. Like more than most kids, I think.
Yeah. It's exciting. But you're already planning her career. You're gonna get her, piano lessons or something.
No, I'm just gonna push her right into TikTok.
Oh yeah, it's great. That's smart. That's smart. Monetize that baby.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing.
Oh, that's 100%. 100%.
Like that's basically my Instagram now because Brittany's always sending me stuff. Like the parents do. So like that's my feed at this point. But yeah, I've had some fun ideas. I gotta actually just execute them. But like, yeah, it is crazy. Like these kids can grow up and have their college fund paid for before they're 10.
Yeah.
If they actually want to do that. So I'm like, college. I don't even know what college is 20 years from now, 18 years from now.
Nor do I.
Like anything. Like I was talking to my neighbor.
There's first of all, we have the crazy price of college and the student loan shit and whatever. And then we've got just the fact that there was a time where a college degree kind of guaranteed you a job. And now, I mean, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I saw a recent poll. It said it was like half. It was like 48%, almost half of people don't use their degree for their job. That's it. Like if you think about it, that's pretty insane. 1 out of every 2 people isn't using it. So I don't know, but
meanwhile, I was a journalism major, program director of the radio station, and sports editor of the newspaper, and here I am, about to tell you the top 10 most overrated athletes of all time.
Yeah, I mean it works out, and even for me, like with a degree in English and writing, like I know it sounds stupid. It's like, oh, writing for Twitter, it's writing, like whatever it is. It works out, but the AI
we're gonna make you write your top 10 most overrated athletes as if it was an English paper.
Do I have to use the what's the proper citation? What's that called again? Is that MLA?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like when you cite something.
Yeah.
The proper citation format.
Oh, don't even get me started. I was accused of fucking plagiarism twice because my inability to cite things properly.
Yeah, it's MLA. Or is it APA? Regardless, don't care. Can you imagine being in school now? I was getting to the AI. Like, how's that high school teacher going to prove that AI didn't write your paper?
Yeah.
Like how?
No, they can't.
No
There-
way, right?
I imagine there are like AI like tools that will tell you if something was written by AI, but like there's no way that, because the thing is, imagine just being able to write. Imagine how much less work it is to chat GPT a 5,000 word paper and then just go through it and change it, as opposed to writing the whole thing your fucking self.
South Park just did a funny episode on that.
I saw part of it.
It was like the kids were using AI to write these amazing papers, you know, in their
And
fourth
then
grade.
what's his name was using it to grade them, right?
Yeah, did you see it?
Yeah, I saw part of it.
I'll tell you what, man. I still like. I hadn't watched. I've been caught up. I ended up getting caught up on all the South Parks. I still fucking love that show, man. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like it's amazing. It's been around damn near 30 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I did come up with a loose top 10. I tried. I think it was easier for you than me.
Are we going right into it? Is this how we should start the show?
We don't have to,
Or
but
we
we
have some
can.
news. We have some news to tackle first.
Yeah, we can tackle some news.
Let's tackle some news.
Did you have some news you wanted to tackle?
No, I mean, I know you got a rundown on there. I'm just saying, this is what in the TV business you call a tease. Just tease that top 10 out.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. I think that'll be an interesting discussion. I already suspect certain people you're gonna have on there.
I suspect that you'll have some of the people that I have. I'm interested to see where, some people that you might have on your list that I didn't think of, because my list is pretty I mean, if you listen to the show, I think I have 10 plus like 6 or 7 honorable mentions. I'd wonder how many, if I made Dirtball's list 15 of mine, I wonder how many they'd get. I feel like a lot, but I think there will be some surprises in there. In fact, I'll say my number 10 on the list, I think might shock some people.
Well, I'm ready to argue with you about some of these. I know you're gonna have on. I'm ready, but we'll get to that later in the show.
I don't think I don't think you have. I don't think you're gonna have. I don't think there's people on my list that you're gonna argue.
Okay. Well, then now I'm even more.
And now you're even more intrigued. Let's go to the news. That's a good tease right there, Andy. Good tease.
The thing I want to talk about is why are a bunch of teenagers trying to jump Cam Newton?
So many question marks about this.
What is happening?
Yeah. Why is Cam Newton getting jumped? Also, if we were doing an overrated list 5 years ago of current NFL players, like Cam Newton would have been on my list for sure. But one thing there's no doubt about, the dude is and will always be a fucking beast. I mean, he's a superhuman. It was actually his superhuman athleticism that made him a league MVP and a national champion in college, despite the fact that he really wasn't that good at quarterback. So the idea of just like, who are you? It honestly, it's like, it's the world we live in today of like the keyboard warriors. This is like when keeping it real goes wrong.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we'll fucking do it in person. And then all of a sudden you have a 6'5" beasting Cam Newton in a fucking crazy hat, and you and your 6 friends are essentially getting beat up by him.
I mean, this video is amazing. So hold on, let me go from the start. So this is like this is a couple different angles. So like, how many kids you see here? 1, 2, 3.
At least 3 there, yeah.
Coming at Cam.
It's like the statue of Iwo Jima. Like I'm counting legs because I can't tell how many bodies are actually there.
Dude, watch Cam just toss this one kid. Watch this. He's like, oh, you're a 17-year-old teenager? Bro, I've had 300-pound D linemen trying to rip my head off. I'm going to toss you like you're a little fucking ball. Watch this.
Goodbye.
He's like, get out.
He
It's
went-
like ludicrous.
he pulled him.
Move, bitch. Get out the
Yeah.
way. And then we cut to a different angle. And now it's like more like Cam is still standing up. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Nothing about Cam is like, oh, he's going down.
Right.
So right here we have 3 kids. 1 kid's on the ground.
And
Cam
he's
is-
just like one kid's just holding him. One kid's just holding on to him. Can't move him at all. While Cam takes another one with the one arm he has loose and just like throws him around.
like a rag doll.
This is like when when you go over to your family's house on like holiday and like 3 nieces and nephews try to come at you simultaneously. And you feel like you're the Incredible Hulk. Because you're just like, one comes and you just shed it. And the second one comes, you pick it up and use it as a battering ram to hit the third one. Then you're bonking their heads together like it's an old fucking Three Stooges act.
100%. And then, so this kid who flies into punch, is he trying to punch Cam? Or is he trying to punch the kids?
I don't know. This is every fight on the internet, by the way. It's like, who are you punching here?
So he flies in and boom, he throws
Feels
a
like
punch.
he's trying to punch Cam.
Which again, Cam unfazed.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, look at this.
Cam's fighting his nephews.
Just standing upright. And of course, the captions, God bless the internet. So many, kids getting their ass whooped against the Wicked Witch of the West. I mean, Cam and his weird hat that he always wears.
It's truly Cam beating up his baby cousins or whatever. He's like, God damn it. Now I have to have Thanksgiving dinner sweaty. Ah, God. It's like he's not at all worried about having been hurt. It's just like, God damn, now I got to watch this like 7-on-7 tournament or whatever with like a little pit sweat because I wore my nice holiday clothes and you guys wanted to fucking do Royal Rumble.
So that's what it was. It was a 7-on-7 tournament in Atlanta. Cam lives in Atlanta. The event was organized by a company called Weeball Sports, an apparel and sports media company. So it had there was 15 and under youth and 18 and under youth teams from Georgia and Alabama that came. Now, Cam has a squad that was participating. And I think his squad won.
And it triggered some people.
I don't know. I don't know.
Has there been any follow-up on what this fight was about? Besides kids chasing internet clout?
I don't see anything in this. Oh, according to one of the guys, Top Shelf. Okay, maybe Cam's team didn't win. Cam's team is the C1N is their name.
The Cam's team is the Pied Pipers.
Yes. Top Shelf beat C1N in a heated game with a lot of trash talk. This was the 18 and unders. And then the tension boiled over. I mean, it's like, I agree. It's like you attack somebody. Bro, this isn't the internet. This isn't TikTok. That's a grown ass man. Say what you want about him. He was the MVP of the National Football League.
Not only that, but he in college, he did essentially this. Essentially this in college. He's like, I'm a man. You guys are children. I shall win the championship by shedding 4 to 5 of you every time you guys try to attack me.
But even in the NFL, I mean, with his running game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't even remotely going to go down in this. Like there was nothing that like his legs were buckling.
Yeah.
No. He just flicked those kids off like they were a bug landing on your arm.
You know those kids are getting roasted at their Atlanta high school this morning. Yo, dog, you went out with 8 people. He threw you against the fence, dude.
And he was wearing I mean, that's the funniest part.
Yeah.
He was dressed in the Arby's hat.
Yeah.
Got
beat up by Fleetwood Mac, dog. Stevie Nicks just fucking Gypsy Queened you, dude.
Fucking Yosemite Sam's hot kicked
Yeah.
your ass.
Yeah.
What is happening here? I mean, it's unbelievable. But it's funny because, like, I don't know. I'm looking at some of these comments. Some people are trying to go at Cam. I don't know what Cam did, but he got attacked from the video. Like,
Yeah.
you say what he wants, like he got attacked. He's kind of been out there though.
Yeah. Good for Cam.
I'm sure he'll talk about it on his new podcast or whatever he's got.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna start a podcast about this. Fighting teenagers with Cam Newton. Yo, dog, you went full Curse of the Black Pearl. You tried to fight Captain Jack Sparrow, 20 other pirates. Motherfucker got away.
I do kind of wish those kids got their ass beat more.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? Like, I'm all for kids. When you attack an adult, I'm all for those kids to get their ass absolutely beat.
100%.
Like, know your role.
Yeah.
There's a reason the term respect your elders exists.
It's so funny. You know, you've heard that, like, there's a thing like, how many 5-year-olds do you think you could take in a fight if they sent one at you like every 30 seconds? You know what I mean? Cam Newton just did that with 17-year-olds. Like, how many 17-year-olds do you think you could fight if we send a new one at you every 5 seconds? He's like, well, more than 6.
Yeah, I mean, really, he's been conditioned his entire life.
Yeah,
to fight off dudes trying to kill him. You think these little kids are?
I mean, his hat didn't come off, dude.
It's pretty amazing.
That's like, it's like old video game shit. It's like, oh, he becomes susceptible when you get his hat off. You got to hit him in the jewel on his forehead or whatever. Like, his feather didn't even come off his hat.
Yeah, and then he flew away on a broom. It was crazy.
Yeah, you fight the final boss. He overthrew that one kid like it was fucking the Super Bowl. He's like, he had a receiver open downfield. He threw him 5 yards over his head. Tossed that one kid.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like Cam's gonna be one of those guys who's gonna keep making social media news for shit like this.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's a flamboyant personality. He's opinionated. I mean, he fell off, or otherwise he could be on our top 10 list.
Yeah, for sure. Well, someone who's been overrated, just according to one person on Twitter, wants to be a starter. Jameis Winston. Although I shouldn't say one person. There are Jameis Winston stands out there.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston said over the weekend that he wants to start again. And that it's probably not going to work out with the Saints.
Jameis Winston and I have a lot in common. Jameis Winston and I would both love to be paid to be the starter on an NFL football team. Neither of us are qualified.
Like, where could he possibly go?
I literally do not know the answer to that question. I do not know a team, because the issue with Jameis is he's not plug and play for a team that is trying to compete. And if you're a team that's like hoping to do something, hoping to surprise people, hoping to whatever, like, let's say you're a young coach or your young team, you want 30 interception guy? That's not typically what you're looking for. It's like he literally fits neither mold. He's not the guy who comes in and just he makes your team play. Like, who out there is a team where it's like, oh, they're on the verge, but like, you know, like, obviously Anthony Richardson was hurt this year, but like, let's pretend there's a world where like Gardner Minshew was their starter. Like, he doesn't come in and play better than Gardner Minshew on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, he doesn't improve the Broncos. He doesn't improve the Steelers. We all know their quarterback situations. Who's he improving?
But even the Steelers are a great example. Like, let's say he is better than every quarterback on the Steelers roster. Let's just pretend.
Okay.
Let's pretend he is. Okay. They're right now, the issue is they can play defense, but they can't get quarterback play that's not hurting them. So you want to put your defenses back against the wall with 30 interception guy?
Yeah.
The Commanders have a top pick with a chance to get a quarterback. The Bears have a top pick with a chance to get a quarterback. I mean, there's talk of Justin Fields to like the Raiders. Like, at least there's upside in Justin Fields,
Well,
like
that's another team I saw.
The Bears?
No, the Raiders.
But again,
you're not an upgrade for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, but again, you're Antonio Pierce. You're just taking this team over. You're in a division with the Chiefs. You're in a division with Harbaugh and the Chargers. Your move is 30 interception guy? He's a turnover machine.
Yeah, I don't foresee anybody taking a stab at him. But would you? It's not worth the risk reward. So you're going to be backing up Jameis somewhere, whether it's New Orleans or another team. Look at Perino. I just pulled up the rundown. Look at Perino slid in with a little addition. These are all actually news stories. We can really mow through some of these.
Okay.
But I don't want to stick with football. Let's kind of work around.
Okay.
I want to talk about this uniform situation in Major League Baseball.
Oh my God. Horrible.
Dude, what is happening?
Like, what's crazy about it is, like, there's numerous fucking, we're not talking about, so Andy, I worked in the uniform game for a minute. And our thing was we had MLB replica uniforms, and the nicer you went with the uniform, the lighter they got, and the moisture wicking and the cool base was like the thing that they were doing for a while, and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. Most of baseball games are played in June and July and August, and you're playing in fucking St. Louis and Kansas City and shit like that, where it's hot as fuck and old timey, like, the Cal Ripken jersey I have on my wall is like wearing a fucking sweater, so I get it. But like, at some point we need to like stop. Like, are you just going to be wearing Lycra? Like, they got so thin that you can see through the pants. Okay. That's a major issue. Also, they just don't like when you go with this like cool base or this whatever the fuck they're calling it, it does lose a little bit of that uniform feel. It looks lame as shit. Then almost a bigger issue, because at least I see what their purpose is there. This letter number adjustment, it looks pathetic. It looks little league. It looks awful. Awful. I mean, numbers and letters in baseball have been the same for fucking forever. Now you have these weird little numbers and these weird little, it looks terrible. It looks fucking Bush League.
Well, on top of that, there was a pants shortage. Did you know that? So on top of everything, to add to the problems, literally, I mean, what are we talking about here? A shortage of pants for teams. Like, the current state of baseball is this. This is the current state of baseball. You guys can't even roll out uniforms. You can't even supply enough uniforms.
The current state of baseball is it has a lot of problems, and they never address any of the problems. They literally create new problems. They literally create new problems. And what is it? It's like Fanatics, or it's like who's doing this?
So Nike began a 10-year contract with Major League Baseball prior to the 2020 season. Now Fanatics produces Nike's jerseys.
It's kind of everything that's wrong with fashion too right now is like this fast fashion internet. Everything is dog shit. You buy a sweatshirt, it falls apart in 3 fucking washes. Like, I hate to stand on behalf of like my dead dad or whatever, but like this is the kind of shit he would just constantly talk about all the time. It's just like the quality of shit. Like there's just absolutely no quality. But the thing is I don't understand what Major League Baseball's thought process is the idea that you want to make this certain quality for the players that is also wearable for fans. Who gives a shit? Like there was a time where you could buy the nicest shit ever in sports, like it's not memorabilia, but in sports apparel, and it wasn't what they wear on the field. Like, I don't give a shit if I can wear the same jersey as the players. Just make the players look fucking nice. And also, if a jersey that the players wear is going to cost me $600, so be it. You can make a version. You can make this jersey. Make this jersey for fans. But there should be a gap between what the fans are wearing because it's cheap and reasonable and wearable to what the players are wearing. It looks horrific. They're like actively trying to ruin baseball. Like even the simple things, like even the simplicity of just like, well, you know, I'm not the biggest baseball fan anymore. It's slow and there's the fucking 3 true outcomes and blah, 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 blah. And it's expensive. But like, you show me a picture of a baseball game and it fills me with some nostalgia and it fills me with some sense of like Americana. And it fills me with this like, now you look at a baseball game and you're like, what the fuck is this? They look horrible.
Well, these are such, like, I would call them fixable problems. It's a fucking
fixable problem. It didn't even need to be a problem.
But that's my point. That's my point. That's what I would say. It's like an episode of fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm. The story on The Athletic was pretty funny because they went back. They started and they went back to the episode of Seinfeld when what's his name? When Jason Alexander changes the Yankees uniforms.
Oh yeah.
It's just like Rob Manfred is such a baboon. He's such an idiot. You're a fucking monkey, dude. Like you're it's just misstep after misstep. And for everybody who wants to like get on Roger Goodell, dude, the NFL is a pretty smooth running machine.
That's been my take on this show for as long as we've been doing it, Andy. I'm like, everybody loves to hate on Roger Goodell. Meanwhile, Roger Goodell is a fall guy for the owners, and all the NFL does is continue to fucking make money and continue to grow and continue to whatever. And people love to shit on him. And first it was Patriots fans, and then it was the anti-Patriots fans, and now it's the anti-Chiefs fans, and it's a whole fucking thing of like I can't believe how many conversations just since the end of the Super Bowl I've heard about this rigged. I'm like, I can't believe people are this fucking stupid. But that's the thing. Roger Goodell, for how much the owners love that. It's his literal purpose is to take shit so that they don't have to funnel every decision that you might not like through a mouthpiece for you to be mad at. And in baseball is like Major League Baseball. It's one of those things where it's like every decision, and I talked about this when you asked me like how I would change baseball. Every decision is this short-term, short-sighted, disastrous thing that they think will make them money right now instead of, dude, you're ruining how the game feels, and you're doing it. Why? So you can try to like sell the game worn jerseys in fucking MLB.fanatics.shop. No one's going to buy these jerseys if baseball sucks.
Yeah. And again, people just see the headlines and they're like, wait, these guys can't even, they have a shortage of baseball pants? This league's embarrassing.
I would say if you went to any self-described baseball nut, if you're like, are you a baseball fan? Like, yeah, dude, I'm a big baseball fan. And I was like, okay, here's the deal. Since you're a baseball fan, since you're a diehard baseball fan, we are going to allow you. This is free. You tell us what you want. It ships to your house for free today. You can get one piece. You can choose one Major League Baseball jersey of any style, of any kind, whatever. I would say 70% of those would be like, send me a Mitchell and Ness throwback replica of my favorite player from fucking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like, give me the Mookie Betts moisture wicking fucking Under Armour looking fucking swim shirt.
Yeah, people don't care about that. I agree.
It doesn't look fucking cool. Imagine like a Nelly video where he was out there in some fucking moisture wicking Ozzie Smith jersey. It would look dumb as fuck.
Yeah, it would. No, I agree. I mean, it's just, again, it's just another black eye in the sport. Figure it out. And the shortage, I can't get over that. Like, how is there a shortage? How is there a shortage of pants?
And I'll tell you something, Andy. This has been going on forever. Like, that happened to me when I was in the uniform game. They'd be like, "We're out of pants." I'm like, "What? How? Why? What's the issue?"
Not enough child labor. That's the issue. Tell those kids to work harder and work longer
God,
hours.
Fanatics just sucks, huh?
I don't really fully understand that. So their Nike uniforms, why is Nike not making them? Why is Fanatics making them? I don't really understand that.
Because the MLB shop has essentially turned itself over to Fanatics.
And like all the leagues have done that, right? Interesting. So kind of along these lines, this is what you added. The Clippers have a new logo, huh?
Clippers have a new logo to go along with their new stadium next year that's rolling out in Inglewood. I know that the reason I put this on there is two things, and I'll reserve my initial judgment of the logo. But I know you, as a guy who lived in LA and who was sort of a Lakers fan a little bit, you've sort of been always outspoken that there's nothing, absolutely nothing the Clippers could do, I would assume, besides win 15 championships, to ever overtake the Lakers in Los Angeles. And I obviously agree with you. But then there's this, the Clippers like trying to build a brand the last few years with, new ownership. And now they're separating themselves stadium wise from the Lakers. And now they have a new logo. Do you think that any of this stuff will help a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. It'll help. I mean, look, I don't have strong feelings on this logo. It's different.
My feelings on
this. Is that a ship?
Yeah, it's a ship. So a Clipper ship, which is what the Clippers are named after, is a sailboat. And if you look closely, it looks like the top is supposed to be sails.
Okay.
But it's also going up in such a straight kind of manner that it does look like a cruise ship, right?
Yes.
Which I think is the only issue with it. Otherwise, I like it. Obviously, it's supposed to be, You know, there's supposed to be a compass. There's a basketball in there. There's a ship. I like the color scheme. I like the logo. I wish that there had been a little bit more of a jaggedness to the sails, because I don't think that's how sails, necessarily look. It maybe if it wasn't so clean in the angle up, it wouldn't look as much like a cruise ship. But other than that, I like it. There's an anchor in there. Yeah, I like it. There's a seat, there's an anchor, there's a compass, there's a fucking basketball.
I would have done something different. I would have had Donald Sterling's face in the middle of the sea.
Andy, we don't even talk about Donald Sterling anymore in Clipper Nation.
How can you not?
Although the top sail on the ship does look like the visor that Donald Sterling's mistress used to wear. Remember when she was walking around with the fucking visor?
That's right. What was her name?
I would never get it. You can give me 300 guesses.
Jesus, this guy, you go to his Wikipedia, it's okay, it's his mistress, it's V. Stiviano.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But she was born Maria Vanessa Perez. Also known, dude, how many aliases does she have? Also known as Monica Gallegos, Vanessa Perez, and Maria Valdez. Is she a bond agent?
Right. She has many aliases.
Man, I can't imagine. Like you want money so badly, you're gonna suck that old guy's wrinkly dick. Like, how gross is that? How gross! Like, you don't get any grosser than that. Old guy's dick, as he's saying the N-word. Just the bottom of the barrel. Like, that's. Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's what you don't want your daughter doing. You have failed as a dad. If your daughter is
definitely keep your daughter off the pole, but for sure keep her off old dudes' poles.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, you talk about keeping her off the pole. Like, this is worse.
Keep her off limp poles for sure.
Oh my God. Limp old racist poles. You gotta,
It's a Chris Rock bit for you. You gotta keep your daughter off the pole. You definitely gotta keep off the limp ass racist ass pole. Limp ass racist pole.
I like it though. I like that they're branching out. They're getting a new arena. It's smart.
V. Stiviano to the main stage. We need to get Laura Perez Gallegos to the main stage. Get on the regular ass pole. Get off that limp ass old ass racist pole.
Like, Ballmer has the money, so it's great. Let's get an arena. Let's change everything. They're smart.
I think that stadium is going to be a huge turning point for them. I think it's, where it is. No one wants to go to downtown LA to go to fucking Staples. I like downtown LA. And I don't want to go to downtown LA.
Let me do a comparison. How much did that help? Now, it's different because they weren't always in Brooklyn. But, like, how much did that really help the Nets?
Yeah. It helped them a little.
I mean, it's still, my point is, it's the same situation. It's still the Knicks town, man.
But you know how LA is. LA is so much bigger. You know how, like, do you know where, like, you think about where downtown, you think about where the Staples Center is.
Yeah.
If you put another stadium as far in miles from the Staples Center as Brooklyn is from Madison Square Garden, I mean, dude, you're not even into fucking Hollywood yet. You know what I mean? Like, they're 6 miles apart or something. LA is such a massive, sprawling city. You now have Inglewood all the way over here and downtown LA all the way over there. Like, just geographically, for those people that live in the South Bay, for those people who live in maybe not Orange County, because obviously you can always go up to 5, but like for people in the South Bay, for people on the West Side, for that, obviously the Inglewood, that whole area, Westchester, Playa Vista, all that shit. That's all so much closer to over there.
No, it is. I mean, if like where we used to live in Venice, going to a game in Inglewood versus going to a game in downtown, it's night and day with traffic. Now, if they win a title, then I think they could really.
It would be a huge thing for them. I don't think that they're winning the title this year as good as they've been. I still don't think that they're winning a title this year, but man, if just another Western Conference Finals appearance the year before you launch new uniforms, new stadium, it could be a huge boost for them.
Can you imagine?
Huge boost for them.
Can you imagine a parade of Steve Ballmer all amped up on whatever he takes?
You think fucking Travis Kelce's annoying when they win?
Bro. That guy will be going psycho. Although LA is such a fickle town, then you'll suddenly see Clippers flags on people's cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, I've been a Clipper fan for life. Oh, have you? I never heard you talk about it. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good move.
I like to see. I think on from now on his trailer doors, Chris Wilde's nameplate has to start with that Clipper C.
Now it'll be a lot closer for him, the new arena.
Yeah.
Is he going to continue going to games?
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, smart move. I like it.
Yeah.
So they're making some changes to better. Major League Baseball is making some changes to make their brand worse. All right, look at us mowing through these. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get to the top 10 most overrated athletes. Before we do that, we got some more news to get to. Big news right here in the Bengals country.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
They franchise tagged Tee Higgins officially. I don't think they're going to trade him. They say they're not going to trade him. I don't, to be honest, know how that works once you franchise tag. But they are going to pay Tee Higgins this year $21.8 million as the number 2. They could not get to a long-term agreement this year. They couldn't get to one last year. Everybody says they're not even close. They're not going to get close. It's not going to happen. So they could have traded him after last offseason when his stock was arguably the highest. He got injured this year, didn't play as many games. He still has a high stock value. He's, probably a number 1 on most teams. But the Bengals are saying, hey, and I agree, you're shaking your head. Maybe he's not. I think he's over. Here's what I think.
It's hard. It's just hard always to tell that about a guy when you have an elite quarterback and an elite guy who's like, it's not just that he's a number, like they're 1A and 1B and you can't really decide and he's good. Like, this is, and we can kind of get into this like when we start talking about the overrated, but like, you have a Clay Thompson. It's like, yeah, he's not being fucking double teamed. When you have an elite guy who's over there, it's like
it's Marvin Harris and Reggie Wayne.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. I think Bengals fans 100% overrate him. Now,
I think he's a really, 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 really good receiver. There's no doubt about that.
I think he is.
I think big, and he's a great counterpoint. He's a great counterpunch to the Jamar because he is a big guy. He's a go up and get it guy. He's a deep threat. He's all those things. But again, that's you're supposed to be. If you're that guy, you're supposed to be dominating the second best corner on the other team. The question is, when you go to a team, especially depending on what your receiving core looks like, they just don't have to. They don't like you might get shut down because they're like, well, this is the only guy we got to stop. We've seen that before in the league. Like, I mean, time and time again.
Yeah, 100%. Now, personally, I think this is a terrible decision. It's classic idiot Bengals decisions. I mean, you have a guy. So let's take it from a team perspective and from a financial perspective. Think about this. You're going to pay your quote unquote number 2 almost $22 million. You're going to make him a top 5 for the year paid receiver, and he's your number 2. Idiotic, stupid. I mean, clueless. Your quarterback has been injured twice, has missed almost a full season of games. Maybe put that money towards somebody to protect your QB, or I don't know, your defense, which had a lot of holes in the secondary. I think it's comical. The spin is they're going all in. They're
That's
going
right.
all
That's
in.
the devil's advocate thing. Is they're trying to win right now. Blah 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 blah. Which, listen, I don't necessarily disagree with, but what I don't think they're ludicrous for taking 1 year to pay him this much money, because they haven't had to do, like, Jamar Chase hasn't gotten the mega deal yet, right? So
Correct.
It's like, so when you're looking at how much you're paying your receiving core, it's still like, if you look at it in that regard. Now, that being said, the reason I don't like it is what you said before we started on the show, and what you're saying now, which is you could trade him. You could trade him
for value. Now, I know he doesn't have the same value as Tyreek Hill. Look what the Chiefs did. They traded Tyreek Hill. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls, used a lot of those picks on the defensive side of the ball, which turned into a top 2 defense. It's to me, it's so short-sighted. And I'm just going to pose this to anybody who's a Bengals fan or even a Joe Burrow fan. We all know I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. Guys, if Joe Burrow is him, they shouldn't have to pay 2 wide receivers. Sorry.
And this is a long-standing Joe Prano theory, right? I was on this campaign before anybody would fucking hear it, and now everybody's come around. But like, Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill, but he's now won back-to-back Super Bowls since he hasn't had them. This is something I have said forever. Look at the great quarterbacks and talk to me about the elite receivers that they had. The super fucking 18-0 year, Randy Moss sets all the records. They didn't win. Look at all the years Tom Brady did it without some elite receiver. Look at Patrick Mahomes winning back-to-back titles. Where we're saying their receiving core is a disaster. Look at Eli Manning having Victor Cruz off the scrap heap turn into a fucking all-pro receiver. Look at Peyton Manning. Look at the years where it was like you had to worry about fucking Brandon Stokely and this fucking guy and that fucking guy. Like, all of these, I mean, you even go to like Drew Brees. Who are the big fucking name receivers when Drew Brees is winning his title?
What did Jordy Nelson do when he wasn't with Aaron Rodgers?
Right. Who was even the receiving core for Aaron Rodgers' one fucking Super Bowl? It was pre-Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
If Joe Burrow is one of those guys, what he allows you to do is not spend money on your receiving core.
I agree, man. That's a lot of money for a number 2. You're paying him like a top 5 receiver for the year, and he's the second best receiver on your team. That's my whole thing. So as a guy who is a huge advocate of Joe Burrow, it says a lot to me. And I know Burrow loves Higgins, and he came into the league and he had Higgins and all that. It's like, I get it, before he even had Jamar Chase. I get it. But like, if I'm Joe Burrow and I got a gun to my head in a hypothetical situation, and they say, okay, you either get another year with T or we get some draft picks and we can help improve the defense whatever, this side of the ball on offense, what are you taking?
Well, you got to remember something. Players don't necessarily make the best GMs.
I agree.
So maybe he'd be like, I want fucking Tee Higgins. But like, yeah, well, you're not the GM of the team. And you just look at those guys. Who knows what Peyton Manning wanted or Eli Manning wanted or Ben Roethlisberger wanted or Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is this guy who had a falling out with the Packers because they wouldn't sign his receivers. They wouldn't draft his receivers. They wouldn't whatever. And it's like, dude, you didn't even have him when you won the fucking Super. Like, it's just, to me, I'm not like, this is 100% the wrong decision, because I understand you haven't paid Chase yet, and you have this opportunity there where your receiving core is, this is the guy that's getting paid, and it's only 1 year, and now you have to, you have a year. But at the same time, just the way teams have been successful in, I don't know, the last 10 to 15 years is you don't need to do this if you have the elite QB.
But they can also, it's funny. The blueprint is there from themselves. So they make it to the Super Bowl, lost in all this when they make it to the Super Bowl. The defense had 8 turnovers in that postseason. 8. I have argued, and Bengals fans, a lot of them don't want to hear it. I have argued the defense was the MVP of that playoff run. They got 8 takeaways in 4 games. 8. And then the next year they go to the AFC Championship. What was their defense? Top 5 points per game in the whole league. So my argument again is you went far when your defense played well. Last year the defense took a huge step back. Obviously you lose your quarterback, and that's a huge factor. But I don't know. The blueprint is there from your own team. The blueprint is there from the Kansas City Chiefs, the team you're gunning for.
The blueprint's there from every Patriots team. The blueprint's there from the Tampa Bay Bucks team that Tom Brady won with. The blueprint's there from both Giants Super Bowl teams. The blueprint's there from Russell Wilson's Seahawks team. The blueprint's there from the Peyton Manning Broncos year. The blueprint's there from the Ravens Super Bowls. The blueprint's there. Like, you can go on and on and on and on and on. The team that won the Super Bowl this year was the team whose quarterback was elite and whose next best offensive weapon doesn't start at his position on the other team, and they don't have a single receiver that could get on the field for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Like, you could say whatever you want, but George Kittle had a better year than Travis Kelce. Not a single receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs starts on the Niners.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we'll see. I mean, yeah, it might work out. But
but the Chiefs play defense.
Yeah,
and the Chiefs let go of guys to draft let go of Tyreek to draft defensive players. And the Chiefs didn't pay so that they could franchise, Jones, and they didn't. Blah, blah. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
I'm a big believer at this point. You just named all these different teams who won Super Bowls or went on runs. You got to sew up the trenches on both sides of the ball.
And just know that if you do, and you have an elite quarterback, that now you're like, now you go into games and going like, okay, the trenches is where the game is won and lost, but we all know that this quarterback position is the most valuable fucking position on the field. But we have that, and we have that, and we'll figure out how to get like the playmaking takeaway corner, and we'll figure out how to get the receiver, and we'll figure out the running back situation. We'll figure out all that. But we've got, the bones built, and we've got the general.
Yeah. I agree, man. I mean that's where I'm at if I'm playing GM on any team. At this point, you got a guy who's not even your top receiver, and he has value, trade value, draft pick value, trade his ass. I don't know why you're keeping him.
It's the same thing. Honestly, to me, if you have a quarterback, and this isn't a shot at Joe Burrow, nor is it really a shot at Aaron Rodgers. It's probably more of a shot at Aaron Rodgers than it is Joe Burrow, because I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But I almost think if you have a quarterback who's saying, I don't have enough weapons, you're not even qualified to be my quarterback. Like, straight up. Like, you don't even understand the game well enough to know that's not the issue. This is where we are with the Giants right now, where people are saying, oh, what receiver do you take? I'm like, dude, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit what weapon we get if you're still not fucking blocking or protecting or stopping anybody's run or any of that stuff? It's like, you have to build, like, you talk about the foundation of a team. It's like, this is the equivalent of building a house and being like, this is the TV we're going to get, and this is the spa I'm going to get, and the pool, I'm going to get an infrared fucking sauna. It's like, whatever. It's like, you haven't built a foundation yet. This pool is going to sink into a hole in the fucking ground because you haven't built a foundation of this fucking property.
Yeah. All right, you want to get to this top 10?
Let's do it. Pull out my phone here. Put on my glasses.
So based on last episode and a call, we were asked to create our top 10 most overrated all-time athletes. Now I struggled, and I really don't have these in order.
Okay. I tried to do an order, and I didn't struggle.
and I struggle more because, like, I don't have outside of like five, I don't have very strong personal opinions on these.
Okay. So do you only have 10?
I have 10 left. I have question marks next to some of them.
Okay. But you didn't go past 10?
No.
Okay. So should I run through my honorable mentions, and then we can go 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my honorable mentions from the bottom up. Vince Carter. I think he's overrated, but also he's somewhat properly rated. It's obviously a long-term, he was in the league a long time. I like Vince Carter, but I get some people are like, and Dan Dole put on things like he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's like, I kind of agree. Floyd Mayweather, you got to punch somebody at some point, right? Like this whole, like, I just don't give a shit that you're undefeated. It's horrible to watch. You're barely boxing. You're just dancing. Babe Ruth. I know it's like, I get that baseball is built on his back, but like, dude, you were like cartoon stepping to the fucking pitch. Like, that's not even the same. Like, he wouldn't be able to get off the bench in a major league bit. He wouldn't be get drafted. Here's a hot take one. Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce overrated. Like, what? I feel like Paul Pierce is overrated because Paul Pierce overrates himself. But like, also, Paul Pierce, nice little player, but like, I feel like there was 20 guys in the league that could have filled in for Paul Pierce on a Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett Celtics team and gotten that title. And before that, what was Paul Pierce?
Okay, so we are just hearing some here. We definitely have a huge crossover.
Okay. This is just my honorable mentions.
Exactly.
Phillip Rivers, the draft class, the Eli, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers draft class. Like, people argue, like, I like this one. I like that one. It's like, he's not in the class of the other two. He never got it done. He had better teams than both at certain times, and he never got it done. He had better offensive weapons. He had better defensive teams. He didn't get it done. I don't think Phillip Rivers is that overrated as a player, but when you talk to him in comparison to the other two guys who had less talented teams and got it done multiple times, with a guy who had more talented teams and never got it done and has major fucking chokes, it's offensive to those other guys and therefore overrated. Reggie Miller.
I don't hate that.
Reggie Miller was like, he's on the top 75 team. Reggie Miller was a great player, but overrated as a defender, couldn't go to the basket, was just like he's kind of a modern day 3-and-D guy that was like 3-and-D'ing before 3-and-D'ing was a thing. And so then, and because it was in Indiana and they love fucking shooters, like Reggie Miller was a good player, a great player even. But like the idea that he just like cruised into the top 75 all time is insane to me. This guy for sure could have been on my top 10, but he's not. Kyrie Irving. We all know how I feel about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is talked about like he's some NBA great. What team has he made great? He was a second banana on a team, just a scorer, plays no defense, doesn't pass, doesn't rebound, just a crafty scorer guy that has not improved any single team that he went to after leaving the best player in the history of the world. Ozzie Smith.
How long your honorable mentions?
There's 2 more honorable mentions. That's it.
Jesus Christ.
Ozzie Smith is maybe the greatest defensive shortstop of all time, if not top 2.
Terrible hitter.
Terrible hitter.
Terrible hitter.
You look at his career WAR, like his career WAR is fully lopsided by his defensive play, and good for him. And by the way,
he's reversed Derek Jeter. He's reversed Derek Jeter.
I love Ozzie Smith. And I know why a team can have Ozzie Smith on it and win. You can just be like, you hit 9th or 8th back in the day, or sometimes 9th. They would sometimes bat the pitcher before him. But like, you hit there, we don't care. Your defense is so good, and what you do on the field in terms of just aligning everybody, relays, all that shit. I'm not saying Ozzie Smith can't be the leader and the shortstop on a championship team. He can, but the idea of like, people will go greatest shortstop of all time, and you'll start listing them, and people will go Ozzie Smith, and I'm like, what are we doing here? You just don't hit. And my last honorable mention, and he would have for sure been on the list if it weren't for the couple of years that pulled the rating of him down, is your boy Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson would be in my top 10 if this was 2 years ago.
I'm shocked he didn't make your list. That was the one I was like, I'm ready to argue with Russell Wilson. Top 10.
The reason he's on a bunch is like because the world has come to realize that he was overrated, and the world is realizing whatever. But like 2 years ago, he might have been in my top 5. He'll be like, oh, greatest quarterback of a decade, going to the Hall of Fame.
I think that's like, more in your head. I don't think people I don't think
dude, you can go on Twitter and search.
I don't give a fuck. I don't think he was. He had a few year stretch where people like me were like, oh, top 5. But like, I don't think he was as overrated as you think. But that's fine. Okay, so he didn't make your list. Now, I did not do honorable mentions. I have 10 on here.
Okay. So you start with your number 10, and I'll go with my number 10.
Now, again, these are loose, just so you guys know. I have like more of a hard top 5. So these ones are kind of loose. So these can be interchanged. My number 10 is Troy Aikman. Now, like here's my thing on Troy. But like he's definition. Like if you look up game manager, now he does have a Super Bowl MVP, I believe.
Yes.
But like, guys, as someone who watched, and Joe knows this, those 90s teams, those Cowboys teams were so stacked on both sides of the ball. And I'm not just talking like weapons and skill position. I'm talking O-line, D-line. They were so stacked. And in my head, I keep going back to when Troy was chirping on Twitter about after Mahomes won, after he won 1, like, come at me when you get 3. Okay, well, he's already there. Like, Troy Aikman's numbers are very pedestrian.
Yes.
Like, very pedestrian. Now, again, he did what he had to do, wins 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. But overall in the scheme, I think he's overrated. And I like him.
At that time, there's probably 15 quarterbacks you could have like here's the thing. You take a guy he beat in 2 Super Bowls, like you swap out Jim Kelly for Troy Aikman, that team might have gone undefeated. I agree with you that Troy Aikman is overrated. Troy Aikman does not make my top 10 nor my honorable mention because, one, yes, he's overrated, but I also look at the quarterback. It's like he did what, like, I don't give a shit what your numbers are, really. I just give a shit that you got it done. Like, I'm fine with the game manager thing. Like, it's great. And the other thing is, you have to go, if you pick out football fan X off the street, somebody who says I know football, and you have them list the best quarterbacks of all time, I think you get pretty far down the list before the average Joe says Troy Aikman.
That's fair.
I think that they're going to put Steve Young over him and John Elway over him and Marino. And I think you're going down. I think you'll get the Roethlisbergers, and I think you'll get the, some of the more modern guys before you get to Troy Aikman. So if we were living in a world that we might have been living in 15 years ago, where it's like, yeah, he's got 3 rings, Troy Aikman's a top 10 quarterback, like maybe, but I feel like the world has come to understand the way they did about all the rings that Terry Bradshaw won, that, yeah, it's not because Troy Aikman was elite. But that being said, I think he's a perfect fit for the Cowboys, because he wasn't like a me quarterback. He was a fucking field general. So not an overrated player to me, because I feel like people don't necessarily hold him in high regard despite his rings.
Fair.
My number 10, and I'm doing this for 2 reasons. 1, because I believe it, and 2, because I want there to be I feel like there's going to be a lot of pushback on mine. Like, you just hate this guy, and you hate this guy, and you hate this guy. David Wright. As a Mets fan, this guy's held up on a pedestal. As a baseball fan, this guy's talked about like he was some decades long great third baseman. Injury prone, I think fucking finished 3rd in an MVP voting 1 time. Like, you would think that he was one of these guys who year in and year out was some like penciled into the 3-hole every day on a good team fucking leader. It's like there was all these high hopes for him. He's the future of the franchise. He did not live up to it. He's overrated. And the people that are talking about David Wright as a potential Hall of Famer are fucking clueless. David Wright is probably the most overrated Met in history, for sure. And in my opinion, as a baseball fan, held in way too high regard by baseball fans everywhere.
Now, you know more about baseball, but I can see where you're than me. Obviously, I can see that he had a huge hype train when he played.
Huge hype train.
Huge hype train. He was always getting injured.
The truth is, the Mets are a better franchise today and along the way if they had been like, you're injury prone, we'll go with Justin Turner. Justin Turner had a better fucking career than David Wright at this point.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. All right, number 9.
My number 9, Kirk Cousins. Now, this is a prisoner of the moment, but also I just think the same way Russell Wilson doesn't make my list because the opinion of him has fallen off, Kirk Cousins does make my list because the opinion of him just keeps going up. The audacity for people to treat Kirk Cousins like he's dude, you're in Cincinnati. You grew up with Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason won a MVP. Boomer Esiason took the Bengals to a Super Bowl and almost won. If you walk down the street to your typical NFL fan right now and you're like, Kirk Cousins can't hold Boomer Esiason's jock, they would fucking argue until their head turned red. Kirk Cousins should go down in history like every fucking mediocre quarterback that was hoisted by the hometown. He's Steve DeBerg. He's fucking Jim Harbaugh on the Colts. He's fucking, Donovan McNabb. Okay, you were a good player on a good team when, like, whatever. You never were elite. You never raised your team to be elite. You didn't fucking go deep in the playoffs with regularity. You're fucking Carson Palmer on the Bengals. You're Carson Palmer on the fucking thing. You're Trent Green. The idea that like year in and year out right now, we go like, we essentially have the conversation. Should the Niners be thinking about trading Brock Purdy and going with Trent Green? Is the difference between the Niners beating the Chiefs or not Brock Purdy or Steve DeBerg?
Now, so I actually only had retired people, but I like it. I like.
Oh, I have lots of non-retired people. I guess I got 2 more non-retired people.
So my next guy, again, I don't know enough about the sport. I've just heard a lot that he's so overrated. And I think a lot of it is, again, it's hype, it's marketing. Manny Pacquiao.
Okay.
Again, I can't argue this. I was reading a lot, and again, these are more of other people's opinion, being like, dude, he's been overrated as a boxer.
I think the Pacquiao Mayweather overrated. They refuse to fight each other during their fucking primes. No, it's all this technical shit. It's not enjoyable to fucking watch. Like, yeah, you're a good boxer, but like, and I know it's different, but like, are you a good fighter? You know?
And I'm sure people who know boxing would just like destroy some of these arguments, and that's fine.
But like, those are great examples of like, those are guys that made me stop watching boxing. Boxing.
True.
Like when I watched Roy Jones Jr., I was like, dude, this is fucking fun to watch.
Yeah. So my number 8 is Vince Carter.
Ooh, okay.
I just like, dude, cool highlights, cool dunks. You played a long time.
Yeah.
You were never first team All NBA once.
No. And to be a locked in sure thing first ballot Hall of Famer while not being All NBA once.
Not once.
Really not having any sort. The closest thing he ever did to like raising a team is like they beat the Knicks in a second round in fucking, what was that, 2001 or something? Again,
I think you're just a highlight reel.
Yeah.
So to me, you're overrated.
I'm totally okay with that. My number 8, can't believe he's not on your list. I'm going back-to-back active quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so I thought, interesting. I want to hear this argument.
Lamar Jackson is a great football player, no doubt about it.
It's tough for me to put him on here. He's won 2 MVPs.
And nothing else.
Yeah, true. Because I thought about putting him. I was like, I wonder if Joe's going to put Lamar. I'm thinking
now,
about
listen,
putting him.
It's a different thing. It's like Lamar Jackson has one more MVP than Kirk Cousins has playoff wins. So it seems weird that I have Lamar Jackson over Kirk Cousins. But at the same time, we live in this world, and this is why the guys on the top of my list are on the top of my list is the thing that you do. And this is why Russell Wilson would have been at the top of my list. It would have been top 5 on this list during the time when we were having all the arguments, is like when you place a guy in the conversation with people that are so much better.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Lamar Jackson when we're talking about Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen? Why are we talking about Patrick Mahomes is so infinitely better than Lamar Jackson that it's not even fucking close. And so to be so diluted and to have this conversation during the offseason where you have your Patrick Mahomes and you're gonna let him go to the Falcons, that's just overrating him to a point where it's like, whatever. Like, it is offensive to me that people talk about Kirk Cousins like he's a top 10 quarterback. But it's more offensive to me that they talk about Lamar Jackson like he's a top 3 quarterback.
Interesting.
And
I don't hate it.
This is why Russell Wilson's like, you go back 5 years ago when it was like, oh, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
All right, so that's your number 8. Number 7. And some of these guys, like when I didn't watch them play, it's tough. Joe Namath. Like, dude, like
Joe Namath
the guy,
is on my list.
the guy has more, and he probably could be higher. Again, I don't know enough because I didn't watch him play. Dude, the way he's idolized, guys, because he was like the sexy quarterback. He has more interceptions than touchdown passes in his career.
Yeah. He was
That's
not a good
insane.
quarterback. He was not a good quarterback. He had a legendary playoff run, and he guaranteed victory in the Super Bowl. And it was at the time the biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets in sports.
And he wore a fur coat, and girls wanted to fuck him.
Yeah, it was all hype. It was the most amount of hype. He was not a great quarterback. He was barely a good quarterback. He might not have been a good quarterback. I would guarantee, like, you think he had a losing record? Like, I wouldn't be surprised. But he has more picks than he has touchdowns.
And he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
It's insane.
Yeah. Now, people don't talk about him as one of the great quarterbacks of all time, but absolutely. He's held on a pedestal by a lot of people. He's on my list.
Bro, listen to this. Joe Namath, 62 and 63 in 4 ties, losing record, 50. I know it was different game. 50% completion percentage.
Yeah.
173 touchdowns to 220 interceptions. Bro, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, he's on my list. He's at number 5. So just so you guys know that. No, don't be shy. We can skip over him at number 5 because I agree with you.
Number 7 for you.
Number 7. This one's going to trigger some people. Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is a fantastic baseball player. He's a great baseball player. But people talk about Bryce Harper currently the way they talked about A-Rod, the way they talked about Pujols, the way they talked about these guys who came into the league, were good from day one, were good for 20 years, and were, again, like, dude, Bryce Harper has 1 MVP. Bryce Harper has been in the league, 11 seasons or something like that. And through 11 seasons has less career WAR than Kirby Puckett. He's a great baseball player, but we hold him. We act like he year in and year out is the guy. You're not Barry Bonds. You're not you're not Alex Rodriguez. You're not Manny Ramirez. You're not Albert Pujols. You're already to the point where is he 30 years old? And he's already downsizing to be a first baseman and a DH. You're not an elite defender anymore. You're not even going to be able to play the outfield, essentially. He's a great player, and he has an opportunity to get off this list because I think he's 31. So you have a 4-year window here from 31 to 35 where you're absolutely still in your prime, but you're already not an outfielder anymore. You strike out too much. Your team won the World Series the second you left. I know he's raised his potential. No, maybe he might be a 2-time MVP. He's raised his potential of getting off this list if he continues to have super clutch moments with these Phillies teams that go deep in the playoffs. But so far, from a couple of really big seasons, when you look at his 11 years in the league, what he's been able to do from just like a value standpoint. Yeah, I know Kirby Puckett's in the Hall of Fame. Kirby Puckett probably could be on this list if my honorable mentions went deeper. But like, we got to stop we got to stop doing like Trout, Harper, fucking like, you're not my Trout, dude. You're not even in the realm of my Trout.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can see that too. Again, good marketing.
My number 6. This one is going to trigger some old heads. Sam Tripoli might blow up my house. Robert Parrish.
Interesting. I want to hear this.
Pull up Robert Parrish's stats. Robert Parrish is like
the chief.
Robert Parrish was on this team. People talk about, and this is part of like the Michael Jordan lore. How would he ever beat a team that had 3 Hall of Famers? Dude, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale were elite basketball players. Robert Parrish scored 14 points a game in his career. You have 9 rebounds as a center. You're 14-9. You know how many guys in the league are 14-9?
So to be fair though, hold on. He just kept playing. Dude, he started his career in 1976 and he finished in 1996.
Yeah, but I'm talking about we're still doing the fucking the Vince Carter thing.
Okay.
Like he
never averaged 20 points a game.
Never averaged 20 points a game.
Now, to be fair,
he never averaged 3 blocks a game as a center.
So you had Bird.
He had 3 seasons where he averaged 2 blocks a game.
I mean, look, there's only one ball. You had Bird, McHale, Parrish.
He had 6 seasons where he averaged 10 rebounds a game. He had an all-star run he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row where the Celtics are dominant, where he's an all-star. He finishes 4th in the MVP one time, which is ludicrous.
He's in the all-75 team.
That's what I'm saying. You know how many guys are 14-9?
That is insane.
I'm not saying he didn't have value on those teams. Of course he did. But the idea, you look at where he sits in points per game all time, in rebounds per game all time, in blocks per game all time. Like, did you say he's just like floating in a world of other guys where you're like, yeah, I've heard of that guy. And we go, the Celtics team, stacked. Bird, McHale, Parrish. It's like, I mean, yeah, he was there, but it's not a whole lot different than Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant. Like, we don't hold up like Horace Grant is a good player, no doubt about it. And when he left, it hurt them significantly to the point they had to go out and get Dennis Rodman. But like, we don't act like it was this 3-headed monster. Like, Robert Parrish is overrated. Like, people talk about Robert Parrish like he's like a top 5 center of all time. Like, I don't think he's a top 15 center of all time.
So I'm going to stay with the Celtics for my number 6, Paul Pierce.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
So my thing too, it was the same. So Paul Pierce to me is like, he's very similar to Melo with a chip. So you got the top 20 all-time scoring. What did you do before Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen arrived? I'll tell you what you did. You had the worst record in the fucking NBA.
Yeah.
Like, you could not put the team on your back. You played a lot of years. You racked up the scoring.
If Paul Pierce had gone, like, let's say Ray Allen and Paul Pierce had joined the Timberwolves with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce's legacy would be totally different.
I agree.
It's that they came to Boston.
100%. Now, he does have the finals MVP when the year, the 2008, the year they beat the Lakers. It's like, I just think he's overhyped. The truth. You know what the truth is? You overrated. That's the truth. The truth is you overrated.
I completely agree. And he could have been in my top 10. Joe Namath is my 5.
Okay. So Jameis is your 5. Pierce was my 6. Now my 5 again, I don't know enough about the sport. I've seen a lot of things. I watched the from start to finish the documentary on him, which by the way, I really liked on Netflix. I love the documentary on him. I like him as a person. But everything I read, because I started doing deep dives months ago after I watched it, I was like, how good was he actually as a player? David Beckham.
I don't know enough about soccer to really weigh in, which is why I left him off my list, even though if you put in top overrated athletes of all time, he's on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's what I do know about soccer. and again, my soccer knowledge is watching fucking World Cups with my dad and whatever. The best player on the team doesn't necessarily score the most goals, right? Like he's a facilitator, he's a corner guy, he's the free kick guy, he's whatever. So I understand that he had, that you can be this elite player without being the guy that goes and gets the goals, and he has all these goals on the list. But like, it does seem like it's the equivalent of like, and everybody knows I'm a fucking Steve Nash fan, but it does feel like the basketball equivalent of like bend it like Nash. And it's like, I mean, he's great. He's deserving of those MVPs, and he's not overrated, which a lot of people will say, but no one talks about him like he's that. Whereas, it does seem like it was a hype thing.
And it's tough. He obviously started dating Victoria Beckham at the height of Spice Girls, right? They get married at the height of Spice Girls, were like one of the biggest groups on the planet. He's good looking. He's charismatic. He's modeling. I'm saying he was doing, and you really get to know that watching the documentary. He's doing so much outside of soccer at that point.
I'd love a soccer head to weigh in.
I would too. And here's why. I'm not a soccer guy. Here's why I'm saying he's overrated. I've known about David Beckham like since I was into sports.
Yeah.
My point is like, why?
Right.
Because the hype train was so high.
It's a bit Bryce Harper-ish, right?
No, it is. That's actually good comp. I mean, my fraternity did for one of our shirts. It was like playing off of Beckham and bend it like Beckham. Because none of the guys in my fraternity watched soccer.
Yeah.
That's how big the hype train was.
Yeah.
So he's number 5. Again, I would love a soccer guy to break it down for me. Number 4 for me, again, somebody I didn't watch, but I'm sick. Like, can we just stop on Babe Ruth? Can we stop? Guys, he's a fat fucking white dude.
There's also just theories that like it didn't even happen. It's also just there's just like this is like he didn't hit 750 home runs. Like he didn't fucking do it. Like
I like, and think about it. You and I know this growing up, and you watch The Sandlot and the movie The Babe with John Goodman. It's like there was so much hype, and I think it's maybe changed, but like for guys like you and I, there was so much hype growing up about Babe Ruth.
I mean, before, when we were kids, Michael Jordan, it became you're the Michael Jordan of something. There was a time before that where it was like you're the Babe Ruth of this, you're the Babe Ruth of
100%.
that. You're the Babe Ruth of making pasta. You're the Babe Ruth of here. The reason Babe Ruth doesn't make my top 10 is because like the sport was built on his back. You know what I mean? The house that Ruth built, all the things. It's like you can only compete against the guys you compete against. You know what I mean? But we have to stop acting like Babe Ruth would see the field in any professional sport besides darts. But or bowling. But that being said, if his career actually happened,
he was not 6'2". I put in Babe Ruth's height. Get the fuck out of here.
If his career actually happened the way it said, it's like the sport of baseball was built on his back, and there's something to be said to that the influence, so that's why he was in my honorable mentions. You got him at fucking 4, which is crazy because I feel like we both have the top 3, which is weird because that means my 4 isn't even on your list. Brett Favre.
Ooh, I was looking at Favre for a second.
Like there was a moment, and still is, that Brett Favre is talked about. Dude, Brett Favre is not. He's not above Mahomes for me. He's not above Brady. He's not above Rodgers. He's not above Marino. He's not above Elway. He's not above Montana. He's not above Steve Young. He's not above Peyton Manning. He's not like Brett Favre is borderline top 10.
3 MVPs.
Don't care. Different, like, dude, the 3 MVPs, like, you look at his stats, like, The people who think Brett Favre is a fucking top 5 quarterback of all time want Jameis Winston to be on their team. 5,000 yards.
What was a different
fucking
game?
30 touchdowns.
It was
What's the problem? What's that?
Now, it was a different game. Look, I'm not saying
it was a different game, Andy, but look at it this way. Was it a different game when Brett Favre won Super Bowl? Was it a different game when Brett Favre does the Tom Brady thing and goes to a team that's elite and just needs a quarterback and throws a pick in the NFC Championship game? Like, it's a different game, but at the same time, all those guys who got into the fucking jump. Look at Joe Montana's playoff stats. Look at him. Where's his picks? Where's his fucking picks? Yeah, it was a different game. Dude, Favre comes after Montana.
What's crazy is he won 3 MVPs 3 straight years in a row. Like, that's insane. I mean, he fucking turned that ball over. God, he would chuck it around the field. Interesting on the Brett Favre.
There are, I think my thing is Brett Favre was a great player. Brett Favre was 3 MVPs, but Brett Favre had 1 Super Bowl. And when you talk about it's the class of people that you put him with. You can pick up somebody on the street and they'll just go, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Favre, and you're like, what?
Do you think that's still the case?
Let me tell you something. Right now, if you sent me in a time machine, right? If you sent me in a time machine and you said, there's prime Brett Favre, right? And there is a 4th Manning brother that you didn't even know existed, who's never played organized football, I'd be like, give me him. He'll figure it out. Archie Manning, give him 6 weeks with Archie Manning. He'll give you a better chance to win the Super Bowl.
Prime Brett Favre is he's turning the ball over for sure. He's a 3-time MVP, man. Come on.
That's why he's overrated.
Okay.
They overrated him.
All right. So we're going to have the same top 3, obviously.
Now it's just an order.
My number 3 is Derek Jeter. Yeah, I bet he's your number 2.
My number 3 is not Derek Jeter. So your number 3 is Derek Jeter.
Yours is Kobe.
Mine is Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Where's Kobe for you?
Number 2.
Okay. So let's do Kobe. So Kobe Bryant to me is like, what the fuck are we again? Kobe Bryant is a great basketball player. Kobe Bryant is an all-time elite player.
Yeah, he's a top 20 player.
Forget the NBA 75. Exactly. You do the NBA 20, he's in it. But there are people in the world, lots of them, who put him over LeBron, who put him over. There are people who put him over Michael. There are people who put him over everybody. There are people who put him over Magic. There are people who put him over Bird. There's I would say the majority of the population that puts him over Shaquille O'Neal. I would say the majority of the population puts him over Tim Duncan. I would rather Tim Duncan I don't care if the rest of my roster is all centers. I'll take Tim Duncan. Kobe Bryant does not belong in the conversation of greatest basketball players of all time. It is ludicrous. He's got 2 championships as the best player on a team. I mean, what are we even doing here? We've talked about it a million times. He was never the single leader in VORP ever. He's got 1 fraudulent MVP. He couldn't get out of the first round without a fucking center to ride the back of. If you're out there talking about Kobe Bryant as one of the 5 or 3 or 1 best players of all time, you are so incredibly stupid about basketball that you should just stop watching it.
It's just marketing, man. It's that stupid You see it on Twitter. You see the fucking people who literally have hashtags, Mamba mentality. What does that even mean? Statistically speaking, he is so overrated. Based on any computable evidence, which would be stats, he is overrated 100%. And people are insane. They are insane. And that includes former players. That includes the Charles Barkleys of the world. You name it. I don't think he made his teammates better. He did not elevate his teammates. Read any book on it, as we've discussed in depth. So he's my number 2. Your number 2
is Carmelo.
is my number 3, Derek Jeter.
My number 2 is Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, you have Jeets as number 1.
We can do Jeter now.
And let's do Jeter.
Okay. Here's why Derek Jeter is my number 1. Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. Although Pete Rose could have been on this list, by the way. Sacrilege to you, I know. But
no, I wouldn't hate that.
Willie Mays did not get 100% of the vote. Hank Aaron did not get 100% of the vote. Hank Aaron takes shits that are more valuable baseball players than Derek Jeter. The Yankee lore, the captainship, the fucking clutch hits, the clutch fucking push it to right field fucking singles. You're not in the middle of your lineup. You're not in the middle of your lineup. All these championships, you're not the guy. Ever. You're not the guy ever. Derek Fisher, Derek Jeter. You set the table. You're the captain. You make the clutch shot with 0.2 seconds left. You take the charge. You make the backhanded flip. You're not Shaq. You're not Kobe. You're not Phil Jackson. You're not the 3-hitter. You don't lead your fucking team in MVP votes. You win 1 MVP in any of the fucking World Series. You're not the ace on the pitching staff. 100%. No doubt about it. 100% he's in the Hall of Fame. More Hall of Fame votes than Willie Mays, who has 660 home runs, finished in the 3,000 hits with most top 5 RBI. Hank Aaron finished with the most home runs of all time. He had the most RBI when he fucking left. All the fucking things. You're in the Hall of Fame with a higher vote than them? Absurd. Defensive liability. Inarguably the worst defensive shortstop of all time. Now, the argument against that is if you're so bad, you wouldn't get to play all those games. So yeah, there are people who came into Major League Baseball and were worse shortstops than Derek Jeter, but there's no shortstop has been worse than Derek Jeter that played half as many games. Defensive liability, slap hitter, never won a fucking batting title, never fucking sniffed a fucking MVP. 1 World Series MVP in a series that wasn't close. The 6th most valuable or 5th most valuable player on the majority of teams you played on. You got your fucking year in and year out, the ace of your pitching staff and maybe the number 2 are more important. Mariano's more important. The guy who hits 3 is more important. The guy who hits 4 is more important. You're a table setter. You're fucking you're Barry Larkin. You're Barry Larkin without an MVP and worse defense. And you're in the Hall of Fame on 100% of the vote and the captain, and there's documentaries about you. And there's a fucking respect. It's absurd. It's absurd. Just imagine ESPN announcing a 14-part Barry Larkin documentary. Who'd watch it? You'd be like, whoa, who gives a shit? Great player. Who gives a shit? The single most overrated player of all time. Great player. But we're acting like he's a top fucking... Dude, you might not be a top 50 baseball player of all time. You might not be a top 5 shortstop of all time. Just like Cal Ripken not getting in the Hall of Fame on 100%. Like, none of these guys, just 100%. No doubt about it. Sure thing. Hall of Famer. Go. Fucking whatever. You're just insane.
Yeah, the hype train with Jeter is really insane, especially when you look at it. No MVP, no batting title. Come on. And he was so poor defensively, backed by his defensive war. So bad.
Which when we talk about it is like Ozzie Smith being a great defensive player. There's a role for that at shortstop. He didn't play first base.
Yeah. Joe got so worked up he froze.
Yeah, and you're frozen on mine. Everybody's frozen on mine.
The way you're frozen is funny. You're just ranting about
I went so long without this freezing on me. Are you still moving on yours?
Yeah.
And I'm just frozen on yours. Everybody's frozen on mine.
You're frozen.
Yeah.
Well, I don't hate it. I thought you'd have Carmelo number 1. I have Carmelo number 1. You clearly have Carmelo number 2.
And we kind of just did this, so it's like we don't really have to dig in. But the bottom line of Carmelo is like people act like he did. Like Jeter at least was, he's the leader on a fucking championship. Like what's crazy about Carmelo is you don't even have the people being blinded by ring culture is why Kobe Bryant is overrated. People being blinded by ring culture is why Derek Jeter is overrated. People being blinded by ring culture is why Joe Namath is overrated. Carmelo Anthony didn't win shit. I just don't even understand it. Like, the ludicrous thing is like,
well, dude, you know what his hype train. It's funny when we're talking about like who loves him and which people. A dirtball DM me. There's a right in Puerto Rico. There's a Carmelo Anthony court, like right in the water. Have you seen this?
No.
It's gorgeous. It's like right in the water. I don't know if this is San Juan. I don't know what city this is, but it's like this gorgeous court with the ocean right in the background. It's color court, and it says on the court Carmelo Anthony Court. And I'm like, dedicated court to. Now I know he's part Puerto Rican,
and maybe he paid for it.
I don't know. And Lala's Puerto Rican, but like the Carmelo train is crazy.
But the ring culture blinding people makes sense because people are dumb. But Carmelo Anthony literally didn't win shit. Never made a team better. Empty points. I mean, Carmelo Anthony's Vince Carter.
Yeah. It's pretty insane. Bro. This is not. Come on. Give me a better image of this. I'm trying to show you this court. This court's badass. And you see it and you're just like, what the hell, man? Yeah, I guessed correctly. It's San Juan. Look at this thing. I'm gonna pull this up. So this is Mellow Court. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like, dude's got hype around him, man.
It's also giving me vertigo.
All right, so that's our top 10 most overrated athletes.
Got a lot of crossover there. We got some Paul Pierce. We got some Kobe, Melo, Derek Jeter. I thought for sure you'd have
Joe Namath.
Yeah, we have Joe Namath. I thought for sure you'd have Lamar Jackson on yours, but you were only going retired guys. So there you go.
Yeah, I was like, but like I said, he was circling. He was trying to. he's that plane trying to circle. We can't land yet. I'm like, his stands are stupid too. Like,
yeah, well, that's where the overrated comes from, right? It's the people that are overrating him. If the stands didn't exist, he wouldn't be overrated.
yeah. Let us know, guys, what you think. 310-359-8365. That's a hotline.
Who'd we miss? Who'd we hit that offends you?
And I know we had some calls today. We can get to these next episode. I had some calls sitting in the queue.
Thursday, Hollywood Improv, a night of sports comedy. Come through. Sarah Tiana, former guest of the show, is on. Dan O'Carter, friend, is on. Kostaki Economopoulos, Wayne Fetterman, Irene too. It's gonna be a great night of stand-up and sports. So come through. Tickets available in my bio on all my social media or joeprano.com. Vegas at the end of March, Phoenix at the end of March. It's official. April 25th at Stanford in New York, in Connecticut. Come through there. All my shows, joeprano.com. Follow me on all the socials.
Word. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in, sticking
around and tuning in, stooning.
Yeah, stooning. We'll be back on Thursday, like I said. Have a great week, and as always, stay